salty Gulf Coast to the rolling high plains, to the piney woods in the east. All across our dear Texas, folks need good food to eat. Our farmers and ranchers are heroes. They've always made Texas great. Texas agriculture matters. It's the heart of the Lone Star State. Oh, Texas got it all, y'all.
Well, howdy, neighbors. I'm your Texas Agriculture Commissioner, Sid Miller. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Texas Agriculture Matters right here on RFD-TV. Now today, we're going to talk about the second most widely attended spectator sport in the United States. Hey, if you've ever sipped on a mint julep on the grounds of Churchill Downs, or wagered odds on 6 to 9 furlongs, you know just how big the racehorse industry currently is. Now, while the popularity of racing thoroughbreds continues to rise, the basic concept of racing remained the same for centuries. And it's this: the horse that finishes first, that's the winner. Horse racing is one of the oldest of all sports. And here in Texas, horse racing has seen many highs and many lows in its long, storied history. Like most states in the late 20th century, Texas was in search of some financial relief from the Great Depression and ultimately returned to legalized gambling. One of the most successful racetracks at the time was Arlington Downs, and it became the first pari-mutuel site in Texas, and that was 1933. However, racing in Texas was short-lived, and by 1937, the Texas legislature had already outlawed pari-mutuel wagering. Now, this would set the racehorse industry back and have to endure a 50-year drought before it came back. But thankfully, Texas horsemen were committed to keeping the industry alive. In 1987, their efforts finally paid off when the legislature voted in favor of pari-mutuel wagering once again. Today, the majority of racehorse tracks in Texas can be found in 3 major metropolitan areas: Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. While racing in the Lone Star State isn't quite as big as other states like Kentucky, Texas horse racing has produced national attention in recent years. Lone Star Park, a leading Texas track, hosted the 2004 Breeders' Cup, drawing in some of the best thoroughbreds from across the world. This marked the first time in history the Breeders' Cup was held in the southwestern part of the United States. That's something for us Texans to be proud of. Now, let's join Tammy Ardner as she learns more about horses racing in Texas. The horse race industry is just another way Texas agriculture matters.
This is Highlander Training Center. It was established in 2017 by Larry Hirsch, who lives in Dallas, and our goal with Highlander was to have the premier training center for thoroughbred racehorses, hopefully for Texas as well as for the region, and to establish ourselves on a national basis as a world-class facility based in Texas.
Jeff Hooper is the CEO of Highlander Training Center in Sulphur Springs, Texas. It's considered to be one of the premier thoroughbred racehorse training facilities in the country.
Our main resources are people. We have some exceptional horsemen and horsewomen here. We have 33 full-time employees, from full-time trainers, riders, grooms, facilities maintenance personnel, and they're all dedicated to doing what's best for the horse. We'll have about 140 thoroughbred racehorses here on the property at any given time. Many of those are in training. Some are on a break from the racetrack and turned out in one of our 11 pastures or 15 paddocks and turnout pens.
With its 189 acres, the horses have a haven to relax and recuperate when they're not on the track. But when they're on the track, it's all about fine-tuning this animal's natural-born instinct to run.
Training is a process. You want to teach horses a little something new every day if you can. You want to get them to the peak of their fitness. You can't rush them. But you need to again have professional horsemen that know the horse, that can see, maybe little extra things that each horse needs. We may have a program, but we're big believers that each horse is an individual. So you need to be able to evaluate that horse and see what they need on that given day so that they can reach the end goal, which is to see the winner's circle at racetracks.
Gary West believes in the training process of Highlander and its staff. He brings his racehorses here.
No other training center like it in Texas. I mean, it's ideally located for me because I live a couple hours away. But they have a therapy center here, a turf gallop here, and this training track, really unparalleled facilities.
West is watching his filly run on this day. Horse owners are welcome to see the progress of their animals.
Just wanted to see how she's doing, and I'm quite pleased. She worked well and looks good. Looks like she's put on some weight, and we'll be ready to run down at Sam Houston.
While the end game is to have a horse clock its best time on the track, Highlander is also focused on taking care of the whole animal. That's why at this facility, you'll find a therapy and rehabilitation center.
Put some tools in here like the above ground aqua treadmill, the in-ground aqua treadmill, the cold saltwater spa, the stalls with full vibration plate floors, the RLT laser, and wanted to have all the tools at our disposal to help each horse be the best that they can be to get through any little aches and pains or injuries that they might have.
There's also a veterinarian staff to tend to them. Dr. Allie Broyle says this is the job she's always wanted.
I really enjoy working on thoroughbred racehorses because of my background, and to get to work on a high-level athlete, especially here in Texas. I love Texas. It's just exactly what I want to do.
While Kentucky may be the first thing that comes to mind when you think thoroughbred racing, the Lone Star State shouldn't lag too far behind.
And we're seeing Texas racing and breeding of thoroughbreds and quarter horses really rebound here in the state. It's such a natural, it's a part of our heritage, and we're fortunate to have friends in Austin that see that and see the benefits to agriculture that the racehorse industry provides.
I'm Tammy Arender for Texas Agriculture Matters.
Howdy, neighbors. It's my pleasure to have Dave Appleton with us today. Dave is a world-class cowboy. He's the first non-American to win a PRCA world title, and he's a natural fit as a sports commentator. Dave, thanks for being with us.
As always, Commissioner.
Good to
great
have you
be
here, my friend.
Yeah.
Now, let's start out and just tell us a little bit about yourself. You've got a pretty interesting story.
We got 6 hours. I grew up in the little central highlands of Queensland in Australia, and it was a small rural community, 2,400 people in the town of Clermont. Cattle ranching and down there, properties. They don't have ranches, they have a property or a station, as they call them. I grew up, that was a big sorghum area, and then later on coal was a big side of it. So grew up there. I lost my dad when I was 7 in a rural accident on a station, and grew up, got my first horse at 7, fell in love with a horse. Me and that horse called Mozzie went everywhere together. I used to ride him bareback all around the ridges, and then sort of as I grew up, I fell into horse racing. I don't know, there was a lure about it, and I was small. My nickname in Australia was Stumpy. And I was very, very small. I played all kinds of sports, and because I was stumpy, because I was a stunted growth. And I actually, when I played golf and everything, kind of tricked my mother into letting me go to live with an aunt in Brisbane to supposedly play golf and go to senior school, because where I grew up, it only went to the 10th grade. So senior was grade 11 and grade 12. And in Australia, you only had to get a junior education. You could do anything. Go into a trade scenario there. But I got down there, and the first thing I did was went to the racetrack, because I'd been galloping racehorses all through school, and found a guy that said he'd hire me, and called my mother and said, Mama, I went to the track and a guy offered me a job. And wanted to be a jockey, loved it. Just loved the romance of the racehorse and riding racehorses. And within a few months, I grew too big. I was the only one laying in bed asking God, why did he make me grow? And gave that up, came home, went back to work on the land, kind of fell into rodeo. Absolutely my brother did it, so I did it. The first time I learned how to ride was really out in a place called Epping Forest. One Sunday afternoon, we had about 200 head of weaners in the yard, and we're about 80 miles from town. A guy showed up with a bull rope, and he said, "Let's buck some." And we did. We all got on, and I think I probably got on about 30 before I ever made the whistle. Yeah. I mean, they weren't all that big, but there were a bunch of, young steers and heifers and stuff. And the funniest thing was, you think back on it, there we are 100 miles from town. We're in a squeeze chute with a big metal bar over the top, big concrete step off, and you'd have to lean underneath to go under the bar, to go across the concrete, to go down out into this big open pen. And that's what we did all day. And it kind of was fun. And then luckily enough, I started winning. I was only 16. I went to a rodeo and started winning. And fast forward, rodeoed full-time in Australia, and then saved some money. And a friend of mine named Steve Hodge, one day I was popping off about coming to the United States. And Hodge said, "Well, what's stopping you?" And nothing was. Saved my money. In 1980, here I came.
World champion.
Well, it wasn't quite that easy, but I am the ultimate guy to tell you that there is a God, because trust me, I've had the good Lord guide me throughout my career and have been blessed with so many great people. I got lucky enough to meet Jess and Gene Everett in Snyder, Texas. Bob Doty was the rodeo coach there, and they took me and gave me a chance, and there were so many great things that took place.
And then it brought full circle. You're back in the racehorse industry, announcing. Most people think of racehorses. They don't really think of Texas. But we've got a pretty good industry here, don't we?
It is a great industry and a great history. I mean, back in the days before, horse racing was banned, Arlington Park used to be right there where the GM factory is in Arlington, Texas. And it was the major racetrack. I mean, it was owned by the Wagner family, and it was put on. You fast forward, once Parimutuel got passed again and Lone Star Park opened up in 1970, I was doing some broadcast work in rodeo and other events, and I met Corey Johnson. Corey Johnson was the president of the track, and Corey said to me, "Dave, we need somebody that can communicate to people what's going on." So I started at the track there, but the Texas horse racing is huge. I mean, Sid, when you start to go across the breeds from the quarter horses, the thoroughbreds, you've even got paint horses, Arabians in that racing game. So many great Texans have owned great racehorses. I mean, look at Kenny Trout, Bill Cashner. They've won the Kentucky Derby. I mean, Clarence Scarborough, the Scarborough family, the Turners, they won that. Assault, the Clubfoot Comet that was King Ranch. Those are all,
those are Texas horses.
Those are all horses, the horse owners and horses from Texas. Yeah. So the breeding industry and the racing industry is huge.
Folks, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more from Dave Appleton in Texas Racehorses. Welcome back, neighbors, to Texas Agriculture Matters. I'm your host, Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller. Now let's continue to talk to my friend from Lone Star Park, commentator Dave Appleton. Now Dave, when you were rodeo, and you kind of had a nickname as the Lone Roo, obviously from your Australian heritage. So what's up with that? I even heard that there's a racehorse named after you.
Well, it all ties in. One of the other things that I've done around the horse racing side is, and the great thing about horse races is ownership. Not everybody can afford a horse by themselves. So I started, years ago, I started some partnerships, and we had a group of people that got into a partnership. I had the commissioner of police, so the chief of police in Grand Prairie. I had Gordon Jago with the Sidekicks. I had the guys with the Mavericks. And I mean, that partnership's been in effect for now 30 years, 25 years, and we've had a lot of fun. So we claimed a mare called Holly Lynn for $10,000 way back when, and she was a mare that really we got her and she got good. She ends up winning a stake race, and in fact, she beat out Tom Durant's horse in a Texas stakes race. She was a Texas bred. And she wins this race. It was a photo finish, Sid, that took so long that you should have made a dead heat. But finally, they put Holly Lynn up. Jack Bruner, who works for Tom Durant, basically is walking out of the winner's circle, and he walks by me and he says, "When you're done with her, I want her as a broodmare." We sold her to Tom. They raised it. One day, I'm actually never forget this. I'm in the Capitol down there doing some grassroots work on horse racing in the Capitol during a legislative session. I get a text from Jack, and it's a set of jockeys' papers. And on the jockeys' papers, I see the word Lone Roo is the name of this horse. It was Holly Lynn's first baby. Jack named it after me, and he went on to have a great career. He won his first start, ironically, at Lone Star Park.
That's
and,
great.
It's a great thing. And Tom Durant had that mare forever, and every horse that we named after that had a Roo in her name.
That's good. That's a great story. What's your favorite part about horse racing?
The horse.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that's been around this sport, it's all about the athlete. I mean, when you stop and think about it, it's everyone's quest. You're a horseman. I mean, look, you just won your 25th World Championship the other day. You know what a horse is special. And around the racetrack, everyone loves the horse. The horse is what makes everything work. It's the foundation, and to me, there's nothing greater than looking and trying to find a horse. And not every one of them's going to have that look of Eagles, but that's the one that you always look for.
That's what everybody's looking for. Yeah. That one. They say God gives you one good woman. Yep. One good dog and one good horse. We're always looking for that one good horse in your lifetime. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. So I would like for you to tell our listeners why, from your perspective, why you think Texas agriculture matters.
Oh, wow. Why does Texas agriculture matter? It's the foundation, Sid. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, Horse Bill 2463 got passed that benefited. It was a sales tax to come back to help the equine industry. When you stop and think about the closed loop system and why Texas agriculture matters, here's something that boosts the purses at the racetracks, at horse events, and everything else. Well, not only do you boost the purse money, then you boost the breeding side. Then from the breeding side, wait a minute, Lone Star Park's got 1,200 stables back there. When they run, you got horses everywhere. Your breeding industry grows. Growth becomes jobs. Jobs become more for farmers. It's a big closed loop system, and in short and sweet, it all goes back to one thing: agriculture. And here in Texas, it matters.
It does matter. Thank you. Well, Dave, thanks for being here with us and telling us about the racehorse industry, and you've got an amazing story. So thanks for joining us today.
Anytime, Commissioner.
Now, folks, we're going to go take a look at another one of our great Go Texan partners. Stay tuned. For over 20 years, the Texas Department of Agriculture's Go Texan program has helped promote products made right here in the Lone Star State. From boots to salsa, Go Texan members make the best stuff on earth. Now, friends, let's take a look at one of these fine Texas businesses and why they are Go Texan proud.
Go Texan every day.
Susan Soaps and More is a small business that we do basically small batch manufacturing of handmade, all-natural soaps and skincare products. And one of our key features is that we use pure essential oils. We don't use any synthetic fragrances, no animal fats, no animal testing, no artificial colorants or fragrances. It really matters what you put on your skin. And so since we had moved out of the country back 25, 26 years, or whatever it was, there wasn't much options as far as natural products. So I've always been kind of crafty, so I started going to the library, researching, making my own skincare stuff, and I bought a book on how to make soap. And the local health food store here in Kaufman, I was buying back then little jars of coconut oil. When she found out I was making soap, she asked if she could start selling some of my products, and that's kind of how I got started. We're probably about 25 different scents of soap, but we also do face care products. If I was on a tropical island, my anti-aging face serum would be something I would definitely want to have. That and my lip balm are two of the ones I really can't live without anymore. We also make body oils, we make body scrubs, we do an all-natural insect repellent, we do beard oil, which came about as a request of my son's best friends that bugged me for probably 3 years to make beard oil for him. So We do lotion bars, which are solid moisturizers in the little tins. We do shampoo, both solid bars and liquid shampoo. So it's grown. I've been doing this for over 20 years now. I can melt oils early in the morning, but they have to cool down to a certain temperature. So if we're gonna pour soap that night, I can melt the oils in the morning. I have to also mix the lye at least by the middle of the day because it's gotta cool down too. Then the soap has to sit in the mold for 18 hours, something like that, 12 to 18 hours depending, 22 hours depending on the soap and whether it's a half block or a full block. Then you have to unmold it and cut it into logs and then into bars, and then the bars need to cure for about another 3 to 4 weeks. The reward that I get, multiple rewards that I get to use my own products, and one of my joys in life is creating things. The feedback that I get from my customers in terms of how much my products have helped their skin or how much they simply enjoy using them, that is a huge reason why I continue to do what I do. The reason why Go Texan is so important to me is I enjoy being part of that community. I am a native Texan. I was born and raised in Corpus Christi, so I love being a part of the Go Texan community. I enjoy the exposure that I get. I also really enjoy working with and have tremendous respect for the Go Texan field agents. They really go above and beyond to help you out and be there to answer questions, and they're just a great crew all the way around.
Well, neighbors, thank you for joining us for another episode of Texas Agriculture Matters. I hope you enjoyed learning a little more about the Texas racehorse industry. These equine sprinters are truly remarkable animals. Did you know that the fastest recorded speed for a thoroughbred is 44 miles per hour? Now just imagine that next time you're driving down the road. In fact, the world of horse racing has inspired many filmmakers to capture the touching stories between racehorses and their owners. Many of you may be familiar with popular movies like Secretariat and Seabiscuit, stories of classic underdogs and some of the greatest racehorses of all times. Just like these movies, the Texas racehorse industry has done its best to preserve its history here in the Lone Star State while honoring the people and horses who've made a significant contribution to its development. Now, as always, I'd like to close by saying thanks to every Texas farmer and rancher who works from sunrise to sunset to help keep our rural heritage alive. Now finally, here's today's logic. You know, 80% of the people in life, they don't care about your problems. And the other 20%, they're probably glad you have them. Thank you. God bless. And remember, friends, Texas agriculture matters.